I don't think Sean McVay has beat Kyle Shanahan in over 3 years at this point. I think we're going on 6 straight now for this 49ers versus Rams rivalry, and now they are facing each other in the NFC Championship game, so we might as well talk about that one. Going back and watching the last time these two teams played, 49ers were down 17-0. Jimmy threw 2 picks. It was rough. And yet, they came back. It was, again, one of those like late, second half collapses that the Rams narrowly avoided this week against the Bucs. Same thing happened in that game. And the 49ers just kept plugging, and their yards after catch threats just kept making plays. Debo had a passing TD because he's Debo. Because he's Debo. He had 8 carries for like 5.5 yards a carry and a touchdown. He had another 4 catches for 95 yards. He did everything. It was the Debo show. Ayuk doing Ayuk things, because Brandon Ayuk, I think, is a fantastic player. He had a 100-yard game in that one too. Very few corners, by the way, can cover Brandon Ayuk. He just does not get the targets that I think a receiver of his caliber should get. You put him with, say, Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, and he'd fucking blow the doors off a lot of people. But he did his thing in that game, and just got endless first down after first down after first down. It's weird, like they didn't even really have to use Kittle. Like he was more of like an underneath threat that would just kind of pull linebackers out of the way for Debo and Ayuk behind him. It was a how do I say this diplomatically? Wasn't a great game from Jimmy. More of a great game from the players around Jimmy. And the rest of that team is so crazy talented that, again, just like we saw this week, regardless of how many times Jimmy either throws a pick or almost throws a pick or takes a bad sack or whatever, the defensive line is amazing. The linebackers are rangy. The secondary is super disciplined. The skill position players are great. The offensive line, a little bit inconsistent when they're banged up, but again, you got Trent Williams, who's arguably the best player in football this year. The team is so good that they can still beat the Rams in spite of Jimmy. And so I'm not discounting them. I know it sounds like we were talking shit at the 49ers. I'm not discounting them against the Rams this week, because the Rams, for whatever reason, cannot beat these dudes. They just can't do it. So I think it's anybody's ball game this week. Like, I don't know what the spread is, but I don't feel comfortable betting it either way, because quite frankly, whenever the 49ers play the Rams just melt. They can't handle it.
Yeah, they're two teams that are extremely familiar. Obviously, they're in the same division, play each other a couple of times a year, but it's more than that. There's some history. Both coaching staffs have been stable for the last 2-3 years. These are teams that are hyper familiar with each other. And it's going to come down to those other plays. And I'm with you. On paper, Rams all day long, right? If you're just looking at personnel, Rams all day long. In reality, 0-0 ball game at the start could never be truer. Like, they have a legitimate chance to win. I will say this. If the 49ers win, how psyched are the Chiefs if they beat the Bengals?
I don't think they're psyched at all, because
they know
what Nick Bosa can do. They know what Fred Warner can do. They barely survived him in the last Super Bowl.
I understand that, but I think they're happier than if they have to face the Rams, just from a matchup perspective. We'll talk about that a little bit. But look, the 49ers have a lot of horsepower. You talked about it. We need to talk about their safeties, like Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tart. Like, those guys have been playing very well down the stretch. Armstead had a huge sack. Armstead's a freak. We talk about his other line mate at Oregon, DeForest Buckner, all the time with the Colts. Like, Armstead on that sack on Sunday, guys that size should not move that quick. Like, they should not have that quicks. And he has all of them. And they can make life really hard for the Rams, especially if they're still experiencing some of those injury issues on the offensive line. Flip side, 49ers are pretty banged up. Jimmy's thumb is hanging on by a string. Debo got rocked, and that was, again, a sort of gasp-inducing moment because he is the driver, the dynamo, the first option on this offense. Kittle limped to the sideline. Might have just been cold. He's tough as hell, but he's had some injury issues. Trent Williams was hobbled, had his ankle wrapped in this one.
That's the one that worried me.
Yeah, there's a lot of that are key players that are beat up. And look, it's a long season. We talk about attrition. We talk about the danger of a true 18-game season. You can't stay healthy. Nobody's healthy at this point. But some of the 49ers key players, quarterback, their all-world left tackle, their all-world tight end, their all-world everything. Debo is a verb now. He just Debo'd, right? Because he runs the ball, he catches the ball, he throws the ball. Like, he's got everything going on. That was a little bit Bull Durham there, wasn't it? But, like, they're banged up, and that's rough. Do I discount them? Not at this point, because they do have the Rams number, and the Rams seem to be able to establish a great lead and then not keep their foot on the gas. And I think if the Rams are going to win this one, they have to try and boat race them. I mean, full throttle, WFO, foot to the floor. We're just going to try and score as many points as we can every possession because Jimmy's offense probably can't produce like that. And we just have to try and outrun them. If they sort of throttle down in the second half with the lead and say, oh, we're going to sort of play ball controller, like that's the 49ers game right there. Don't do that. Rams just have to pin it and try and outrun them for the quarter mile.
They just need to stop turning the ball over.
Well, if they turn the ball over as many times as they did against Tampa, it's over.
I mean, even in the last time they played against the Rams, like part of the reason, or the 49ers, excuse me, part of the reason why, that game was so hard on them, even though they had a 17-0 lead, Stafford threw 2 picks. Like, they cannot keep turning. When they turn the ball over, shit goes south for them.
Yep.
Quick. Like, really quick. I don't have the numbers in front of me in terms of, like, number of points given up off of turnovers, but I bet they'd rank near the top because it seems they just completely fall apart. It's almost like, we talked about how, like, Kansas City's like a vibes-based team. When the vibes are good, they're good. When the Rams turn the ball over, for whatever reason, it turns their whole vibe sour. They play like shit for like the following 5 minutes after.
Yeah. And it comes in bunches for them. I would agree that like one leads to two. Like
yes.
when you see Stafford throw one, especially a bad one, like the ones that are contested or got knocked up in the air or whatever, like the fluky ones, not so much. But like he misreads the safety coming on shallow cross. He doesn't see him and he throws it right in his chest. Like another one's coming within the next 10 minutes of game time. Like it is going to happen. So it's odd that way, but almost not odd, somewhat predictable at that point.
I mean, we saw it in the Titans game. We saw it in the 49ers game.
We saw a bunch of games this year in the middle where he threw 2 or 3, right? And I actually said 2 or 3 weeks ago on the podcast, like Stafford has to stop being a turnover slot machine. Like he cannot play that way and expect him to win, especially not in the playoffs against a good team, banged up or not.